What is up, YouTube? Okay, so today I'm going to be doing an updated video on my WhackerLink and FiveM install guide. The first one was put out pretty quickly, as I noticed in the Discord a lot of people were having issues installing it and getting it set up, but it was definitely not made with a lot of production quality. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that this video is intended for you to kind of locally run it and check it out, test it out. It is an open source project, so feel free to do whatever you want with it. But I completely understand some people might say it's a little bit too difficult to install or too difficult to set up. So if you head over to their Patreon, you can subscribe and they will help you get your server set up and running, and they'll actually host it for you. Make sure you join the Discord for that as well. Now, you don't have to do any of that. You can run this locally and it works perfectly, and it's better than a lot of the other alternatives out there, and it's 100% more realistic. Now, first thing you want to go ahead and do is head over to this WhackerLink v4. Go ahead and open that. And you're going to want to scroll down. It's going to be two things that you're going to need, which is the .NET framework here. So you'll go ahead and click that and you'll install that. I already have that running on this machine, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that. And you're going to repeat the steps for this second one. So .NET Core Framework, it'll download real quickly and then you'll run it. It's a pretty simple install. You just click two things and you're ready to go. Now, I do also want to say that I'm not going to show you how to compile this. This can be easily compiled within Visual Studio, but if you knew how to do that, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. Okay, so if you want to do all that technical cool jazz, you probably already know how to do it. So I'm just going to show you how to do it from the releases, which is pretty simple. You'll go ahead and download this and click that. So now you have WhackerLink Server. You're going to go ahead and click back, and we're going to go ahead and look for WhackerLink FiveM. All these are pinned. You're going to want to hit code, download zip. Okay, once we're done with that, we'll go over here to their install location so you can see everything in here. We'll go ahead and extract both things. Okay, so we got the FiveM resource. I'll drag that onto my desktop. And then the server. Okay, I'll drag that onto my desktop. For my purposes, I like to rename it. You can honestly name it whatever you want. I just like doing WhackerLink Server, WLS. Just makes things easier for me. You'll go ahead and open that. And now this main file here, config.example, is going to be the main file that you're going to go ahead and want to edit. So you can quickly open that in your preferred editor. And here's the important stuff. So you can set a name. This is not really relevant. I typically just leave it as is, but if you're running multiple systems, you might want to change it. The port, I would keep that default here unless you have something running. And I'm not 100% sure which other ports you can run this on, but I would keep it default if you can. If you're running this locally for personal testing, you can keep this to 0.0.0 or change it to the local host 127.0.0.1. But since most communities are going to be wanting to run this on a VPS or a dedicated server, you're going to want to put that in here as well. So if my server IP is 205.168.9.108, you'll go ahead and put that in here. Next thing you want to do is scroll down just to make sure everything's good. I wouldn't mess with any of these if you just want a simple install. You can obviously mess around with those if you want to on your free time. Next, you have a list of sites. These are pretty much already set up for FiveM. If you want to change the alias names or anything, go ahead and do that. Currently, the radio ID access list is not included or set up yet, so that's a future feature, so I'd keep looking into that. But that's going to be, so when you set your own radio ID, only specific radio IDs will have access to the radio. Not finished yet. I'm not sure how they're going to implement that, but I would go ahead and join their Discord to be updated on that. So pretty much all you really want to do in here is change the IP addresses from localhost here. over to your server IP address or your local machine IP address. So that's going to be important for when you go over to the WhackerLink FiveM resource. This one's a little bit more important. I'm going to go into config. I'm going to go ahead and open that one. And then site blimps pretty much turn on or disable the site blimps. So those show the antenna locations on the map. Disable animations disables the animations for the radio. So that's pretty simple here. I'm going to go back to that. Sites, this has to match whatever is in your WhackerLink server file, the one that was in the config example. So this should look familiar. And if these match, they work perfectly. I personally wouldn't touch them again. It works fine the way it's set up. Now, the most important thing are code plugs. So code plugs is the software or the information your radio reads. Now, I'm not super radio heavy, so I could be completely wrong of what I'm saying here, but the way you want to go ahead and do these is you're going to go ahead and open one and configure it. So you have APX 6000, APX 4500, and you can change these. And I'll make sure to include their document down below that shows you to what you can change them to. If you give me one quick moment, I'll pull that up real quick so I can show you guys. Okay, so code plug options, and that's going to be in this guide right here. As you can see, these are the different models of radios you can set, and here you can see APX 4500. That's currently set in here for in-car. I personally don't like that one. I like the E5. So all you have to do to change it, double click E5. And you want to go ahead and do that for different radios, say for different departments and such. And here is where you can set your zones and you can custom name them. So zone 1, I'll change that to LSPD dispatch. Channel 1, I can leave it to channel 1 or LSPD. Oh my God, can't type today. Dispatch. And then for this one, I can enable it tactical. So TAC 1. So you can create multiple of these. This is going to be the channel ID for the system. So say you have LSPD dispatch, make sure that's on its own. So 2001, and you can rename this to LSPD. Now say you want to have an interop channel. So this one will be our interop, for example. You're going to want to copy this same number to all the other code plugs for your interop, and that will cross-link it to this one. And you want to make sure that if you have multiple code plugs, that they don't have the same TGID as one in here that is not an interop or one that you want multiple people to connect to. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this is officially supported. I run it like this in my community and it works fine. So once you're done here, you'll go ahead and click save, close it out, and then here you can name it to whatever you want. So I want this code plug to be LSPD. Now I can't type again, sorry guys. LSPD. So that's going to be the code plug, and I'll show you how to use that here shortly. So most of the configuration here is done. You can go into client and client.js. And within this, if you go to, I believe, line 215, I want to say, 225, you can change the different key bindings for the different things. So push to talk, I might change that to something else that it doesn't interfere with N, toggle radio focus, F, E, and I would just change those key mappings. I'll make sure to leave the key mapping link down below as well. Okay, so that practically concludes how to set up this on FiveM. You're ready to go on that side. I did want to mention one thing, is make sure you change this to the original IP address. So don't leave it localhost, leave it to your server VPS IP address. So if it was 205.168.9.108, etc., you would want to save it. Okay, now let's go on to the slightly more complex part, the actual server. You can't run this currently. If you try to, it will quickly exit out because it doesn't know what it's doing. The way I do it is running on Windows Server. You can right click and open it in terminal. You'll get this nice cool PowerShell window. If you can't do this, just Google real quickly how to open a folder in command or in PowerShell. Next thing, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go ahead, and for me, it just makes it easier, is a new folder and label that configs. You're going to go ahead and drag in your config.example folder in there, and then you're going to go ahead and paste in the command that's found on their GitHub. Once you click enter, you should have that, and you are running. Okay, so you're done. You installed WhackerLink Server. You go ahead and add this resource to your server files, and you start it. And if you did everything correctly, you should be good to go. So I'll go ahead and join you back and show you how to use this thing in FiveM and how to input your radio ID and how to do your code plugs. Okay guys, so hopefully we installed everything perfectly. I'm currently in game, and there are two main things that you're going to want to do. So the first thing, and every person has to do this, is set_RID, which is your radio ID. And for me, I'm going to set my call sign, which is 192. Now, the important thing when doing this is to make sure that no other person has the same radio ID. Every radio has to be unique. So if you want to go from 1 to 10, you can go 1 to 10. But each person has to have their own separate number, and they can't have the same one. So I'm going to set mine to 192 here. And then secondly, you're going to go ahead and do /set_code plug. And you're going to put in here whatever you named your code plug. So in the tutorial, I think I named it LSPD, but in my public server here, I just have it as public. So I'm going to go ahead and type in public. Here again, you put in whatever code plug you set it to. If you hit enter, your radio should pop up. Next, you're going to want to highlight the radio. You can change the key bindings under here in the settings, key bindings, and then FiveM, and you'll be able to find your radio. So for me, I just named it APX just to make things simple. But as you can see, I have emergency set as F10, push to set as left control, toggle radio, and toggle radio focus. So these two are the main ones, especially push to talk, but you want to make sure you set all of them. On the new version, which I don't have in this server version yet, you have the ability to turn up the radio volume and turn it down. You can also bind those ahead of time. So as you saw in there, my key was left bracket to focus the radio. So once you do that, you'll have this cool thing to enable drag and enable scale. God, I can't talk today. But as you can see, you can move it around. What I've noticed is if you have it overlapping something else, you might get a bottom bar. So I like to move it to the left a little bit, and it typically fixes the issue for me. You can also reset the position and enable scale, and scaling allows you to use your mouse scroll wheel to make the radio bigger or smaller. Now, I'm going to keep it the way I had it, so I'm just going to do that, and you should be able to go ahead and turn it on. Yours will not say Silver Lake, but it should boot up like this. This is good. That means you are up and running. Now you just go ahead and use your push to talk key, and you should be talking. So I don't have my microphone set up here, but you will do the radio animation as you can see there, and you'll begin talking. All right, so hopefully you guys were able to figure this out. You'll be able to use the same commands, same features within inside of a vehicle. You will just have the selected in-car model. Thank you guys, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below.